Hi there. You are listening to Beyond Distribution with GTDC podcast. Our series focuses on one-on-one conversations with tech leaders and subject area experts who cover the technology space. Today's guest is Daniel Nissan, founder and CEO of StructuredWeb Inc., which is a provider of a leading channel marketing automation platform. Daniel shares his thoughts on the AI evolution. How will it impact work processes and the channel in the next couple of years? What opportunities lie ahead for distribution and the channel in general? We hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to check all of the others available on Apple, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Spotify.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of Beyond Distribution. And I am delighted today to have as our guest Daniel Nissan, CEO and founder of StructuredWeb. Daniel, welcome.
Hi, Frank. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me today on your podcast. Pleasure being here.
Thank you. It's great to have you. I know that you and I met not too long ago at our event in I guess it was in February at the at the GTDC event, and of course, you know, your company has been around for quite some time. So before we get going, could you tell us a little bit about your entry into the IT space and also a little bit about StructuredWeb?
So I entered to the IT space as a teenage when I started to do programming. I didn't know that I'll be working in this industry at that time. And later on, after my Army service, I started my first startup. And it happens to be in the IT space. So I developed software back then. And it happens, and it's closing a loop to what I do today. It was also related to distribution. So I started my first company in IT and related to helping channel partners managing their relationship with vendors that they represented in the local markets.
Excellent. And what about StructuredWeb? Talk to us a little bit about StructuredWeb and what you guys are doing. I know you've been around for some time.
Yeah, I started StructuredWeb 24 years ago with the vision that similar businesses don't need to reinvent their web presence, marketing activities, and go to market. We started in general with any kind of businesses, different verticals. And after a year or two, we found out that the success is in the channel. So we initially worked with a lot of channel partners, serving them directly for about 10 years. And after that, about 8 years ago, we changed the model and started to work in providing our platform to the vendors so they can serve their channel partners. And then we really moved to the enterprise space and became a leader in the channel marketing, which people call TSCMA space.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. And that's certainly an area that's critical. I mean, one of the things that I've found over the years is that particularly at the solution provider level where you started, there's just a lot of folks that just needed marketing help. You know, you had some really good technical folks, you know, but when it came to figuring out how to market and run the business and market their business and provide sort of an overall marketing sort of presence, they needed help. And of course, transitioning to the vendor world where I lived for a long time, you know, as you know, we constantly needed ways to, you know, interact better with our channel community, channel partners. So that's great. It's certainly well needed. You know, Daniel, one of the things that, you know, you and I talked a little bit about in the past, and certainly is a major topic right now, you know, is AI and everything that's going on in, you know, in that area. And clearly, you know, it's evolving and it'll continue to evolve for a while. How do you expect the various technologies to sort of become mainstream as we go forward here?
Yeah, as like many other technologies, and I've been involved in the internet space from 1992, right? So I was able to see even that infrastructure growing. It takes about 5 to 10 years for technologies really to become a public domain. But it's a process. So there are early adopters, there are situations where the technology fits better, and other situations the technology need to continue to evolve. And that's what I expect to see also with AI, right? There will be some use cases will be obvious, and we already start to see them in the market. There are some others that might be obvious and easy to use, but the market is not ready to use them. So the adoption would lag the availability. And we expect that to continue and evolve over time. But I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, we see AI taking a dominant part of how we humans interact and use computers. Okay, it's not going to replace what we do. It's going to not to put us all out of jobs. The opposite, will make us better and capable to generate more content, generate more ideas, and process more activities faster with less resources. And those improvements, which I think will overcome some of the challenges that we have, for example, with the shrinking workforce. Now, a lot of people, baby boomers, are retiring now. Everybody was concerned about that. How we'll maintain productivity, how we'll maintain innovation. AI is actually going to help with that in a substantial way. So actually, I think it will have a great impact on our economy.
Yeah, I agree, by the way, and certainly, not unlike what we saw with cloud starting 10 years ago, and it continued to evolve. This, however, is a little bit different in that clearly there are productivity opportunities for productivity enhancements. But there's also opportunity for bad actors and for things that we would worry about, right?
Correct.
And it seems like governments are starting to think about proposing panels, legislation, etc. What are your thoughts here? How do you see that sort of playing itself out?
Yeah, so there definitely is ways to exploit this technology and use it in a bad way, as you said. And I think it requires collaboration between the industry leaders, those companies that develop those models, and the government. But will require more than that, because there are more and more models that are actually open source. So you cannot control them anymore. You cannot just, not a handful of companies will have access to this model. And we'll need to develop, internet created a great environment for us to collaborate, but also create a huge hazard around cybersecurity, right? Before the internet, there was no connection between all these public and private networks. So there was no need to protect ourselves from vicious attacks by other people. I think the same with AI. The technology is here. There are great benefits of the technology, and there will be a growing number of regulations, policies, and also technologies that will protect us from those people who try to exploit this technology in a negative way.
It's kind of interesting. I worry about that. The other thing I worry about, and I think there's been some press about this recently, is just that as it continues to evolve, people need to understand that there are limitations, in terms of, how they can depend on what they're seeing and what they're getting, and how to use it properly. Do you see that as a current concern, and over time, how do you think that sort of plays itself out?
There are different ways that you can see threats from this technology, right? First is the ability to mimic the voice and image and thinking of a person, right? So that's something that's concerning a lot of people. The ability to generate content in a scalable way that personalized to specific person opinion, right? So you can use it to exploit for political reasons, right? Or to drive chaos in an environment in a specific society. But this type of communication go through a platform that need to provide somebody with an API in order to use it for such a negative use case. So I think collaboration with the platform, be it Facebook or Twitter or now X or other platforms like Instagram, would enable to protect and to control the use of these technologies in a negative way. So it's really the collaboration between the different platforms that create the access between those bad players to the people that can be exploited, that need to be controlled, need to put more technologies to do that, and to monitor how the system is being used.
As you think about it for your own company, and as you guys continue to evolve and provide the services that you're providing, both vendors and and channel partners, what do you see some of the advantages and some of the risks going forward?
So in our case, because we're in the channel marketing space, right, we're a very text and content driven business process. We actually see tremendous opportunities to improve the marketing and get to something we set kind of a vision many years ago, to get the right message to the right person at the right time, right? And key success in marketing is my ability to describe my product in your situation, right? So when you try to sell, the best way is to think about from the buyer point of view, right? But because we have so many buyers, and if we go through channels, different channel partners sell to different buyers, right? It's very hard for a vendor to make all the different derivatives and different versions of the stories that the partners can take their message to market. And even a single partner might sell to 4, 5, 6 different personas and different verticals. Generative AI actually would enable that, or actually with our technology now already enabled that, to take one email and with few clicks and 60 seconds later, and you have the message verticalized, targeted to the use case of the buyer. So if you have a generic message and you want to target it to somebody in the banking industry, and it might say regional banks, and they specifically they are concerned about, I don't know, threat because of remote online banking, you put these 3 keywords into the wizard, you click enter, and you get the message customized for this use case. But tomorrow you have another sales team that sells to another vertical, you can customize the campaign for them, again, with few clicks. So being able to adjust the story and change it according to the buyer point of view, make it at a very scalable way, low cost in any language. This is a very powerful thing that we never had before.
I've heard folks, and I think you guys have even indicated this, that the key to the success ultimately sort of is in the training process, right?
Yes.
And describe that to me a little bit, and describe that to our listeners as to what you mean by that.
So a large language model, which is the technology underlying the ChatGPT or similar technologies, is a AI model that was trained on a big data set. That's why it's called general, right? The G. And it understands a lot, but it was trained on a massive amount of data, and that training stopped at a specific period of time, because you cannot train it every day, right? So, for example, ChatGPT is trained until 2021, right? So it's now 2 or 3 years old already, the data set there. So if you come and try to write on a specific vendor content and a product that was released yesterday or 2 weeks ago or 6 months ago, right? And you have that vendor, they have their own specific style of the way they want to communicate. They have different keywords they like to use their product. They have specific rules of things they don't want to say, negative keywords they don't want to say, right? There is a set of rules that I need to apply to this generative AI engine to be able to write the way I want it to write. So what we do, we take the general model and we train it. And there are specific processes that are available to everybody. Train the model, right? Everybody with technical and skills. And you can train it for be specific to your needs, calling the technical term called fine-tuning. So we make the general model more specific to a specific vendor and specific use case, because when we train the system, we even say, oh, we're going to use it for their channel partners, right? So speak as a reseller and not the vendor themselves when you create any kind of marketing content. And then we add also the rules. This is the example of the emails that the vendor like to generate. One vendor is different than the other. Some people like to be very detailed. Some people like to write more bullet points. Again, the style, some vendors that we look at their contents very casual. Maybe they use some sense of humor. Some people, mostly in the cybersecurity, they like to create FOMO or create a fear, so they can provide their style. So it's like taking a person and say, look, you're a very good copywriter, but now let me tell you the way I want you to write about my specific product and my specific brand. And here are a few examples I want you to read before you start to write. And you take them through a few hours of training, right? And now they're capable to write, but now they're capable to write specifically for you.
Fascinating. That is that's really interesting. And that I hadn't really heard it described that way, nor had I thought about it that way. Yeah. Because typically you would think about it as it's a tool that's available, and it's a tool that's gonna produce the same output or content regardless of sort of what you're looking for. But your point is you can, I guess the term you use is fine-tune it
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
work. That's
Yeah.
really fascinating.
And here's something that we're working now that going to be in market in a few weeks, which is fascinating, right? And again, this tool is so capable. You have to try it all the time to find new use cases, right? So, if you're a channel partner, you go to the vendor portal and there are a lot of campaigns that you can use. So typically in a human interface to the machine, we do a search by keyword, search by filter. I'm selling to this target market, give me the campaign just for this market. I'm selling to this business size, very linear process. So we say, this seems to be not appropriate with the technology that we have now. So we said to the system, this is a channel partner. And we gave information about the channel partner, what they do, what they sell, what their expertise, what the vertical market they services. Now recommend to us a set of campaigns from the list that we have, and it came with amazing lists. Very, very, very well targeted. And I said, let's continue to think like a human. Says, you know what? Don't just give me the list of 5 campaigns we should suggest to this partner. Write the reason. Why did you suggest that? And you'll be surprised the quality of the reasoning that it wrote. And it says, because you're selling to this vertical and actually sell this other vendor, you should sell our product, and here's the campaign for you. So for each one of the 5 recommended campaigns, so wrote a very, very clear and clever reasoning that when you read it as a partner, it says, now I get why this vendor want me to send this campaign to my clients. And it will be different for every partner. Again, something that we could never done before. We had access to generative AI technology.
I like that. And I'm sure as this thing evolves and continues to evolve, when you start to have some success with specific vendors, then this will play itself out in a way that will be really interesting, and frankly rewarding from a productivity standpoint, right? Because the other piece I would assume is once you sort of have the methodologies down, you then build on those methodologies as you continue to provide output and content to folks.
Correct.
Right?
And the way we see it is, the more you start to think about the process more as a human and less as a machine, right? Again, if it's a machine, we want to search something, we need to index that thing, we need to look for a specific keyword, and then we can find it. But now you can approach it more abstract way. I want to do this business, I want to serve these clients. Suggest to me, what should I send them? And that brain, which most of us don't really understand, even the people that develop it don't really understand how it works. That brain is capable to comprehend the content and write back to you in a very natural way that we all understand.
Except you got to manage it. Except you got to manage it in what you just described as being able to figure out how to get the most out of it, in the appropriate way, right? Because there have been examples recently. We had one not long ago where there was a situation in New York City where an attorney used it for some cases to reference in a brief, and I probably heard about it. And it made up the cases, and people immediately get tense about that. But what you're describing is that the human involvement stays throughout the process. So you're making sure you're tweaking and tuning and managing it to benefit, versus what I think some people think could happen is just utilize it to give you the answer. And it's not necessarily going to give you the total answer.
I think the way the technology was introduced to the general public, mostly through ChatGPT, creates a misperception on technology. Okay, the technology is a technology that is able to predict the next word when you write something. So when you go and write something in ChatGPT, it doesn't have a knowledge base. It's not a Google search that will go find the content, check Wikipedia, and give you the right answer. Okay, it has a model that when you start a sentence or whatever you write there, it statistically can find the best matching word to continue the sentence that you started. Okay, I'm simplifying the process, but that's in general what happens there. So you can ask it to write about anything. And if not something negative or related to security or racist or something, then the model will write about it.
Right.
And you can create fiction topics, and you'll be amazed how nice it writes about it, but it doesn't really exist. So when you approach it and want it, for example, to write about a product, about a solution, about a market, you have to feed it specific content to be the context of your writing. And then you use it as a way to reshape that content and rewrite it in a specific way. Let's say, here's a product description. Now I need an email. here is a way email is written in my organization. It can take the product information, the email template, and generate for you different emails. Now, when we take that email, says, oh, verticalize it to these specific industries. That is specific knowledge already obtained, right? So when you talk to it about banking, it understands to use clients and branches. And when you say healthcare, it will use doctors and patients. That's a generative knowledge it has, but it's always written in the context that we fit it. It says, this is the vendor, this is the product, this is an example of the template. Okay, so it's not a knowledge base. If you ask it to write about specific vendor product, it will write. We tried it. For example, we took a vendor product that was released 2 months ago, and we asked it to write about it. It wrote, but everything was nonsense. Yeah. Nothing was really. But when we fed it, here's the product information. Now write about it. Then you get very good quality results.
Yeah, and that's the key. And that's exactly right. So it sounds like you're using it today in your, business.
It's part of our product already. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's fabulous. Yeah.
No, and version 1, we limited at the moment. It's just the vendor can use it. It's not yet open to the channel partners. It can be open right away if the vendor would approve it, but we want them to get the experience, get the confidence, maybe get some feedback to see how we can make it better. But the first feature that we released, we call Edit AI. You can take any email or any content that is written in the system, click a button, say, I want to verticalize it to this audience, click a button, wait 30 seconds, and you'll get it rewritten for that audience. A very simple use case, very limited in scope. We want to get some experience, get the confidence both on our end and our customer end, and then we'll expand it more to more users, meaning to give it to the channel partners. And then we plan to release more capabilities every month in the coming months.
Yeah, that's great. So as we move forward here, and obviously you know what GTDC does, and you know our role. How do you think the distributors moving forward can help certainly their customers who who are the solution providers, but also their vendors who are sort of the upstream partners? How do you think they can work with them to help them, kind of in this space? Is it training? Is it what activities can they provide?
Yeah. So if you look at distributors in the traditional meaning of that word, right, they do two things. Before distribution, they do aggregation, right?
Yep.
If I don't aggregate, I cannot distribute. Okay.
Yep.
They're aggregator of knowledge, right? Each vendor can supply their specific training to the model. Distributor can aggregate knowledge from multiple vendors and create that specific brain to talk about something. So if you're distributors, for example, that have a specific sled practice, right? You can work with multiple vendors, aggregate their content, aggregate their training, and now give the partner a well-trained model, not in a single vendor, because each vendor will do it on their own. But now you can give an aggregated one. Or if you have a distributor focus on cybersecurity, think about you take multiple vendors together. Plus, maybe you add your own unique know-how. Put it to that brain, maybe generate some assets to your partners, maybe give them a ChatGPT-like model that's already trained for cybersecurity, maybe even something on a technical level, how do two products interact? Or if I sold this product to my clients, what my other product I can recommend from the cybersecurity portfolio, okay? Right. So I see the same role that distribution always had if it was on physical products, aggregation distribution, okay? On other support function like financing and credit. Now it's about knowledge. Aggregate that, build a unique value proposition, build your own unique go-to-market around generative AI, and then you can empower your partners. And there are endless opportunities here to innovate, to create something unique, something different. Says, I'm a distributor A, I'll be able to provide this solution to my customers and go to understand the nuances of my partners, because this technology not only can learn about the vendor, it can also learn about the partners, as we just described, right? Go understand the partner profile and now start to match them to the right vendor, to the right solutions, show them upsell and cross-sell opportunities, but again, build something, not that the template that now we send to 1,000 partners, but each one of those 1,000 partners will get their own unique prescribed content or business plan or go-to-market that is customized for you. What can you do as a distributor? You need to put those pieces together to create that value, the technology, the know-how, the relationship, and of course the go-to-market, and even bring that message to the partner at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's when you look at the sort of the variety of different services that disties provide, you're absolutely right of where it started and, you know, kind of what it consists of, but this could be an add-on. But I would also think this has got to be resonating really well with your customers, right? I mean, this has got to be, as you explain your approach and as you provide, you know, your content and your services, you must be getting pretty good feedback, I would imagine, from your existing customers and likely your prospects.
Yeah, we're getting very good feedback. What we get really for them is, and that's what we spend our time, is to hear about opportunities, also to hear about their concerns, right?
Yeah.
We give them early access to the technology, try it, give us a feedback, right? The luxury that we have a very large network of customers, that both distributors and vendors, and they're willing to share with us their thoughts and their ideas and their challenges, right? For example, when we started, we focused most on writing original content for vendors. And then they came back to us and says, no, our biggest challenge now is to take existing content and repurpose it for the channel use, what the people call channelize it, right? Yeah. So we give that priority. Content matching, right? Helping the partners to really find the right campaign, the right message from all this enormous amount of content. That's something that now we use generative AI for. Translation, we have been using translation and now AI-based translation to improve the quality of the content, and the results that we're getting, right, just amazing. That can translate content in any language that you like, and partner says it's ready to send. I don't need to review it. I don't need to edit it. The generative AI quality of translation by far exceed any traditional translation capabilities before. So we see our relationship with our customers as a dialogue, right? We understand the technology, we innovate, we bring something to them, we get their feedback, we get sometimes the priorities. You know, we like the toys, so sometimes we get excited by the toys, and people say, slow down, we're not ready for that yet. Right. But there is another problem that if you solve it faster, we'll be very excited about using it.
Yeah, well, you know, outcome-based selling. That's yeah, I mean, that's what that is, and it still works. When you started having the conversations and when you were sort of, you know, beginning in the process, and I know we're not that deep into it, but what were some of the fears? What were some of the things that your customers were concerned about? What were some of the things that, you know, worried them a little bit and, you know, kind of they discussed with you?
Because we're talking about marketing, right? There are a few areas in marketing and content writing that today they go through a very rigid process to approve every campaign. Legal, right? I need to make sure that I don't say something that is incorrect, that would I'm not allowed to say, or that will put me in kind of a legal challenge later on, right? Accuracy of the content, right? Just to be accurate. The style, right? If I let the machine write, I don't want to write in a specific way. I have my brand guidance. I have my own brand standard. I want this machine to continue and follow that, right? Freedom, right? Now I give every partner in that machine. Before I told them you have an email, you're allowed to change these two areas, you can adjust it a bit, but the rest you're not allowed to change. Now I give them a machine that can change everything. How do I control that machine will, again, follow my instruction and my standard? So I think the brand control, the messaging, the security, that was the major issues, and we addressed them. Is it perfect? No, but we're working. So for example, at the moment, for brands that want to use it, but want also to have an approval, a human approval process, we have a human approval process. I think over time that will go away, because not only that the confidence, the content will grow, we can learn from the areas where we say, oh, this was incorrect, this was wrong. And the machine can have reinforcement of that, so it becomes better about predicting what is right and wrong for each brand separately. So what's right for company A might be wrong for company B, and that's the fine-tuning and brand by brand make the difference over time.
Yeah, and you can see how that becomes so important, and particularly in today's day and age. And there's a lot of stories out there about companies that have, you know, lost control of their message or lost control of their brand. It creates significant problems. So,
but I think the biggest fear for brands should be, let my partners use ChatGPT to write content, right? No control, no training, no reinforcement. Okay, so you need to prevent your partners from using general purpose generative AI tools, because you have no control. You don't even know what they do with that. Right. So in our system, every time they come to request, a partner requests something, the request and the result is stored in the system, right? So there is an audit trail, there is a log, and there is ability to run different questions on the content that was generated to see if it violated any of the rules that the vendor would like to control. And also you can put a human to review the results. So maybe you want it to be fast, right? Everything partner asks, you give it to them right away, but you can put somebody the next day to review it, to give correction, again, reinforcing that training and get better AI model to serve the next partner that's asking for information.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, that's great. Well, I tell you, this has been really, really good and helpful for folks. And what's very clear to me, very obvious, in a very short time, you folks have developed a very thoughtful approach to this topic that everybody wants to talk about, and but very few really understand, in my opinion, right? And
Thank you.
what we just went through for the last 20 minutes is a really good, thoughtful approach, and provided a good understanding, I think, as to what you're doing, and frankly, what needs to be done in the marketplace as we continue to move forward.
Yeah, and I think there are tremendous opportunities in the market. Again, some of them in our area, which is the marketing communication. I call it storytelling, right? So we're in the business of improving the way we tell our story, faster, easier, and more customizable through different channels, right? But there are technical aspects, right? Configurations, improvements of the infrastructure, learning more about the customer and their situation, and apply new technologies to improve their business operation. All these different functions can be leveraged and be improved with generative AI. And the question is then, what we as humans continue to do, we just need to think and imagine. This technology cannot imagine. This technology cannot think about new. It cannot create something new. Everything it writes about is based on either knowledge it was trained on or context you give it to it. So we'll have more time to sit and dream. But when I read books and see what people do now, if you give them the opportunity to dream, we're just can be amazed by what the human being can keep doing.
Yeah, totally. And the productivity enhancements that get created for the work that needs to get done, that time that you've saved, enable people like you who have an entrepreneurial mind to think about the next big thing that we're going to be able to help in the marketplace or put in place in the market.
And in the past we worked 6 days and we rested once. Now we work 5 and we rest 2, and it's normal. Who said that we cannot move to 4 and 3, right?
Yeah.
What's bad about that?
I think it's great. Well, Daniel, this has been really good. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I've learned a lot, frankly, and I know our listeners will learn a lot. So thank you for your time, and we'll definitely be in touch, because as we move forward and there are discussions in this area, I know you'll be continuing to make progress. So we'll reach out and we'll continue to dialogue.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for very insightful questions and the opportunity to speak about how generative AI can bring value to vendors, distributors, and eventually partners and customers.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you.
I enjoyed. Thank you, and have a wonderful afternoon.